Alright, what is going on, everybody? Today I'm just going to be talking about the top 3 things that I feel like are the most important on to focus regarding your bodybuilding, powerlifting, fitness, whatever career. Now, I'm going to start by saying that these are all just values that I think are the most important when it comes to having a good physique and how good your physique actually is. I'm looking for certain things, so I'm just gonna get right into what I think those are. So the first one, of course, I think is how lean you are. I feel like if you have high amount, the thing is, let's get this let's just get this out of the way and say this already. A lot of people want to be on the leaner side. When I say the leaner side, I don't mean like 6 to 5%. I don't mean extreme body fats, but a lot of people would prefer to be around 9, 10, 11-ish, I'd say, and then 12, 13, 14, 15, 12 to 15% is where most people are. Then there's a lot of people above 15% body fat. But the thing is, being lean is one of those things that will just always end up making you look better. And of course, you can still be like bulky and be lean, like there's different levels of leanness. I feel like the level that I'm at, even though you can't really tell in this lighting because I have no pump and I'm just chilling in my room, having like veins on your arms and then having shreds, like that's the thing, it's your vascularity overall. Some people have it in certain areas, some people have it everywhere. And that's what I think divides like good genetics from elite genetics. And if I look at myself, I know I have them in my arms. I know when I get pumps, I get bicep veins. I have striations in my triceps, striations in my delts, in my chest. The one thing I'm working on is getting more striations in my back and more vascularity in my back. But my back still has a lot of growing to do, so I know that once I lock in with that, my back will also catch up and gain some vascularity. Even though my back is super peeled right now, I don't see as many veins. But the point being is, having them everywhere versus having them in only certain spots does really put you at more of a genetic advantage if you want to have that like lean look like I do. Because again, I'm around 10% body fat, but I'm around 10% body fat year round. So that's just something a lot of people can't do. A lot of people have to bulk up, but then cut, then bulk up, then cut. But the thing is, no matter, even though for the most part, I'm really main gaining, I'm in a deficit a lot of times. I'm in bulks for other parts of the times. And then sometimes I'm getting just exactly what I need. But overall, the bulking and the cutting that I do really do weigh each other out. I never really intentionally cut. There's just some days where I eat less and it's not enough for it to count as a caloric surplus, because especially when I'm really busy, I'm not eating at all. But the point being is, vascularity is something that I rank as a must-have in elite genetic physique. Second is going to be your strength. I feel like strength is super important. Of course, there's no point in being super lean if you're just not strong at all, because it really does. When you're lean, your muscle shows, right? And there's not fat around it making you look bigger. So for the most part, people that are really lean but they're really small, they're not that strong most times. And I feel like getting stronger is just one of those things that, again, some people have genetic advantages and they're able to do it quicker than other people, recover faster, push more. And I feel like it really depends on your dedication and your intensity as well. I feel like I bench pressed a lot in my first couple years of lifting, and I had a passion for it and I was very intense about it. And so through spamming that compound movement, basically, even though it wasn't the best way to develop my full physique, it really did put my chest, my triceps, and my shoulders ahead a little bit. I was able to hit 225 and then 275 and then 315, and my max was 320 for one, when I was at like 170-ish. So this was at like the peak of a bulk. But again, right now I don't weigh 170. Right now I'm at like 160 something, in the light 160s. So being strong is super important because, again, no one wants to just be super peeled and then have zero strength and not be able to move any weight. And so, because again, a lot of bench pressing, a lot of deadlifting, I didn't really squat as much or hit legs as much as I should have in the beginning career of my bodybuilding, but I'm focusing on that a lot more now, so I'm going to be able to bring it up. But I always did think I was strong, and especially 320 at like 170 something, and all I had was wrist straps. When I see a lot of people using elbow wraps, and then a lot of people like using slingshots and stuff like that, and it's one of those things where I feel like raw lifts, I don't think wrist straps count as like giving you an additional push, but raw lifts like that really are impressive in my opinion. Even if you might not be the leanest, if you're super strong, there's still a chance for you to get an insane physique, because again, as long as you stay lifting heavier and lifting with more intensity, your muscles will grow in correspondence. But the third thing, besides being super aesthetic and being super strong, being super lean and being super strong, the third thing that actually counts is your genetics and like what you were born with, because even from an early age, I always had like capped delts, and I had like the trap connecting to it, and my arms were really skinny, but I had the tricep, I had the biceps, I had the forearms, the vascularity, everything like that. And that was just something that I had since a young age. So it's really been more about just adding muscle to my frame instead of just adding, fat and muscle like a lot of people do to then cut down. I've never had to do that cut down process that usually takes months for people, or it really depends on how hard you diet, but it does take a couple of months to get like down to 10% body fat, for the average person. But again, because of my genetics, I was just born at like 10% body fat, and I've just been that lean ever since I was a kid. I've never put on fat throughout all my teenage years leading up until I'm about to turn 21 in August. I've never really put on a considerable amount of body fat. I don't think I've ever been above 12% in my life, period. Besides when I was like, really young. But the point being is, having those genetics, my height being at 5'9", and me weighing around 160 to 170, depending on how much I eat, it just allows my body to be at the current state that it's at, and I've been making more and more progress. And the thing that's really interesting about my genetics, which is what I'll end with, is that my weight really doesn't change that much, but my size does. So I've been 160, around 160, 162, 163 for the past 3 years of my life, basically, since I was like 17, 18. The heaviest I've gotten has been recently, which has been around 173, but I've never bulked for a prolonged period of time, especially a heavy bulk where I'm getting like close to 4,000 every day. And that does have to do with my metabolism and how intense my lifts are, and just how many calories I burn overall just by existing. Of course, that does play a big factor into how I stay so lean, and how like my muscle that I put on is just very lean muscle. But that's all stuff again that I was born with, that growing up, I always ate really healthy. I always played a lot of sports. So on top of having good genetics for it, I was basically set up to be very healthy. And then now that I eat like more protein than ever, eat more carbs than ever, train harder than ever, and I'm at this age, right around 21, I still have like a ton of growth hormones in me, like helping me grow and helping me develop more and get wider and get bigger and stronger and whatnot. So as long as you take advantage of that time window between being like 16, 17, all the way into your early 20s, you can grow so much and you can add so much to your physique. All right, but now we're gonna get in the gym, gonna hit I'm gonna try to hit hamstrings again today. Hopefully they're not too sore. They feel a lot better, but of course, always roll out, always stretch. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.